Hi, I'm Rick and welcome back to another one of my videos. I'm here in Ashton, Mersey village again, and behind me is the old clock tower and the old school. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of the school. I'm also going to go round the building and also into the village and show you some iconic pictures. So come with me. This is a view from this picture 100 years ago. You can see the lady sticking her head out here. It's massively changed now. It's a Tesco Express. But you can see all the children in the front here. And in the background, you can see the village clock tower. If you look at the picture we have in front of us here, and from the same angle, you can see how the building had fallen into disrepair. The windows were smashed, and it was all starting to get overgrown. It became a listed site on the 12th of May 1976, and there's a few businesses that operate from here. And again, looking at the picture from the back, you can see how much it had fell into disrepair. And I'm glad that someone took the opportunity to restore this building and make it functional. And here's my final picture of the top of Chapel Court. At the side of the building you can see St Martin's Church Appeal Fund at the side of it. I wonder how much they've raised, and if people put in the comment section, that would be really, really great to know. St Martin's School and its clock tower in Ashton upon Mersey. The old school building at the end of Green Lane and Carrington Lane was once a school village. The clock tower was erected in 1874, but the school itself originally dates from 1818 when the Earl of Stamford gave lands for its erection. Lately the premises have been used for studios and recording jingles. The tower clock was erected by Ellen Dane in affectionate remembrance of her father Peter Dane, Esquire, of Moorfield, Ashton upon Mersey, and her mother and three sisters, Elizabeth, Mary and Jane, 9th of June 1877, and there's a plaque on the wall, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on. It was built for the people of Ashton upon Mersey by George Truefit for Sir William Cunliffe Brooks. He was a wealthy Victorian philanthropist. This is quite an imposing building. Brooks was a barrister, banker and a Conservative politician for Manchester who was a beneficiary to Sale, Hale and Charlton-cum-Hardy. You can still see the name of Sir William Cunliffe Brooks Esquire MP on the front of the old infants entrance to the old school here. It was a very generous gift for him to do for the people of Ashton upon Mersey. I've got an old newspaper clipping of the events that happened here, and it reads basically: laying of the foundation stone of the clock tower of the elementary school in Ashton upon Mersey. The foundation stone of the new clock tower, which is being built and attached to the school of the above parish, was laid on Tuesday by Miss Diane, the generous donor of the clock tower. The ceremony commenced with a singing of an appropriate hymn by the children of the school, after which the Reverend J. Bay, the rector, offered up prayer. The rector, as chairman of the school's committee, then proceeded on behalf of the trustees and managers of the school to present Mrs. Diane with a handsomely chased silver trowel. Engraved on the silver trowel read, "Presented to Miss Diane of Ermfield, Ashton upon Mersey, on laying the foundation stone of the new tower of the school, in grateful acknowledgement of her generous gift in the building of the new tower and furnishing it with a clock and chimes. The new tower will be built in grey-ended bricks and faced with dressings of Runcorn stone. An inscription in granite will be set in the tower in remembrance of Miss Dane's parents and sisters. The tower will be surmounted by a couple of wood in which will be hung 5 bells. The tower is intended for a clock, which will be made after Sir Edmund Beckett's specification with 3 illuminated dials and will strike the hours and chimes of the Westminster quarters." George Truefit, the designer of this building, was born in 1824 at St George's, Hanover Square in London. He practised architecture from the age of 15 in 1839. George was the go-to architect for Sir William, and he worked on numerous projects for him. George Truefit died on Monday, 11th of August 1902, at the Old House, Worthing, after an illness of 6 months. One obituary noted, Mr. Truefit had erected buildings in over 25 countries. Altrincham has its own clock tower, which is part of its rich history, and well maintained and lit up for all to see. Although we have many devices and watches to tell us the time today, the clock dates back from a time when watches were a luxury item and not everybody had one. It would be hard to imagine Altrincham without its clock tower. I think it's time that Ashton village had its clock restored to its former glory and become a focal point once again. If you look down towards the clock from the village, it's almost obscure and out of sight. I am aware of the previous attempts with the owner of the property of the clock tower to be restored, but nothing ever came of it. 10 years ago the whole amount was raised, but at the time it was declined. So if anyone knows the owner and can contact them to see if they're willing to have it restored, that would be great for the community. You can see all 3 clocks telling different times, and they've been like that for years. I've asked a couple of local people and community leaders their thoughts on this. Hi, I'm Rick, and thanks for spending the time just to say a few words. What's your name?
It's Joe.
Hi Joe, what's your name?
Luke.
And you grew up around Ashton, Mersey village all your life?
Yeah.
So how many times have you walked past this clock and wondered, when was the last time it's ever worked? Because it's never actually worked in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, it's not working, do you know what I mean? You need to get it fixed, don't you? I think it would be a good addition to the village.
You imagine it lit up at night. So you think it would be a good idea to have this fixed and make it a focal part of the village?
Yeah, definitely. Get it ringing again on the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
No, perfect. Guys, really appreciate you stopping and speaking to me.
All right.
Good afternoon, Irving. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me about the village clock. So, tell me a little bit about the place that we're in now.
Okay, this is Carrington Lane Methodist Church, and we're interlopers here. We're not Methodists. We rent it from the Methodists. We're a little congregation called Kingsway Fellowship, and we've been homeless for a while, but we've been here for about 5 years, and that's us.
So you've seen the clock in the village. It's got three faces on it,
Yeah.
and for me, I've never seen it working. And I'm in my 50s now, and I've never ever seen it working. And it was an old St Martin's school. Wouldn't you think? Or what do you think about having that restored, or getting it out there to get that restored and have it working for the village, lit up at night, especially on these dark, cold winter nights?
It's a little iconic bit of the village, and it's in a little iconic building in the village, which is at present run down, but it would be absolutely amazing to see this clock and the whole building restored.
What do you think about the community spirit within Ashton Mersey? Do you think that it was something that would gain momentum and they'd get together and try to get something done about it?
Ashton's an old historic village which has had a real sense of its own identity for many, many, many years. It seems to me that the last few years that various different disparate groups have been trying to create a sense of identity in the village, and I think to some degree working. And certainly when we get together and do things like, the Christmas light up things, there's never any shortage of people willing to throw their lot in, coming together, wanting to be together as a village. So there's definitely a huge heart for that. So I walked down Green Lane. I saw all the lights on all the shops, etc. Then I get to the top end of the village, and it's just this dark, unlit, looks unloved, beautiful building. Yeah. Well, I've got views. I've just been sharing them with you, so I'll just briefly share what I think about that. I think I've seen such a heart for people wanting to coalesce and have some sort of unified identity for our village. I don't know how it's going to happen, but my view on identity is this, that when people get to know who they really are and have a real deeply embedded sense of identity, then they feel stable, and they are then freer to actually say to all comers, come on, come and share in who we are. We'll share in who you are. And it saddens me that in the world at the moment, there's so much pugilism, so much polarization. Nationalism is kind of on the rise, but in a kind of we don't want you sort of way. And I think to recover what our real identity is, actually is a gateway to being able to say to others, come on, let's all be together and let's do things together, because none of our identities are under threat, when you know who you really are. And that will be my vision for this village.
Here in Altrincham, if you drive or walk by, your eyes always focus towards this clock tower. It's embedded into the history of this town, and always will be, and can be relied upon to tell the time on all of its clock faces in unity. Imagine Altrincham without its own clock tower here. It's been maintained for many years, and there's loads of iconic pictures of this place here, along with the station as well. So imagine Ashton and Mersey village with its own clock, and even better, lit up and maintained, just like we have here in Altrincham.